Gartner IAM.
Woo woo.
What a good time.
It's a great time. It's always a great time.
It is fun.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Hello.
I'm going to ask you some questions about it.
All right. Fire away.
To start, what's Gartner IAM?
Well, from my perspective, I'll let Javid talk from a PAM side, but from a PMM side, it's the preeminent identity and access management event that happens every year. So if you want to know kind of what's going on in the IAM space and what the trends are, what the emerging technologies are, where the market, where the industry is going, you go to this event. And it's been like that since I've entered the IAM space about 20 years ago. It's also a good opportunity for me to go check out and see what some of my competitors are doing.
Yeah, like Rob said, yes, absolutely. It's a gathering place, annual gathering place of all things identity professionals, vendors, customers, and of course, analysts. It's also a place to discover stuff, right? There's a lot of discovery going on every single day. And I think as much as we are learning from what the
Yep.
analysts are thinking about their research, I believe that the analysts are learning from us as well, especially the one-on-one sessions where you put an arcane requirement from a bunch of customers you heard about in front of an analyst. You put them in a deep think mode, right? So it's really really useful, and it obviously works the other way where the analyst will drop some piece of information. This quote comes
Yep.
to mind. You're either orchestrating or you're being orchestrated. Remarkable in my opinion, like, because that's kind of the drift
Yep.
we've been on here at One Cosmos for a while now, really trying to make things easier, and add value on top of passwordless, add security to passwordless. So
Yep.
really, really important session held once
We
a
like
year,
Texas.
and
Texas
now
was
it's
fun.
going to be in Texas apparently.
Yep.
So used to the Vegas vibe,
And we
but
had
you
a
know what?
booth.
That's history. All good.
We
We did.
exhibited. We had a
We
booth.
love Texas.
We
Yeah.
had great conversations and engagement. But why and where does One Cosmos fit into this event?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, again, from my perspective, and Javit, you may have a different one, but there's a lot of trends that are kind of taking place within our industry right now. One of those is passwordless, right? And another one is actually identity verification. Funny enough, how to prove an identity online. And being that we play in both of those spaces and is really the only vendor to bring both of those capabilities together, we fit into that space quite nicely. If we look at just a lot of the conversations, Abigail, you're in the booth. When we talked about kind of what we did, it it aligned very well to what customers were trying to solve, especially when we brought into the fact that if they came looking for passwordless, we say, oh, by the way, the way you do that is building a verified identity.
Right.
So you can ensure the user behind the device. And at the end of the day, that's what people are trying to do, right? There's lots of technologies that are laying on top to try to make that happen. But at the end of the day, what we bring to the table is, a concept of, and it's one of the things that Akif talked about, is this concept of, identity plus selfie, right? Or is it identity plus selfie? ID plus selfie, yeah, thank you. To ensure you know who that user is behind the
ID plus
device. So if you
selfie. Yeah.
combine the identity, uh, I did it again, the ID plus selfie, you end up with on a path that puts you in a position of security that hasn't been available until One Cosmos, to be frank. And it's when customers see it, and this event for us was better than the last time we were there because the market continues to evolve and people are starting to understand what we're doing. It's it's a very interesting conversation, and one in which we are leading the conversation in, which is also fun. We had a couple of people show up at our booth because of Javed talked about meeting with the analysts. They met with a couple of analysts. They were looking to do some specific things, and they left that meeting and came directly to our booth to learn more, because we're the only ones that can do an IAL or AAL level 2 certified authentication. Nobody else can do that. We're the only ones that can do that. So it's a very different conversation for us than I think it is from some of the other people that are attending that show. Right, Chad? What do you think?
Absolutely. Like, we have to be there. We're going to educate the market about how to do passwordless correctly, passwordless securely. We are the only NIST certified IL2 authenticator on the planet. Okay. We have to be there. We are the ones who are helping educate the market. The analysts are learning from us, and they're kind of repeating a little bit of our sentiment now, right? It has Akif Khan has picked up ID plus, that construct of ID plus selfie is something we've been saying for 4 years now. It's been on our website for 3 years now. Right? You do passwordless because you know who the person is, not who the device is. That's the right way to do passwordless. Every other exhibitor in the passwordless space prefers to use FIDO authentication, bring a device. Well, we demonstrated we could use 7 touch IDs on one phone to unlock a demo. That's not knowing the identity to open the demo. That's knowing the device, and that's a shared device. That's not how we do it, right? So I think it's really important for us to be there, and for this, I guess, dissemination of information that we are very good at. And I think the market's really not very good at yet because it's still learning.
Love that. What would you say in terms of all these conversations that happened at our booth? What was something, did anything throw you off? Any questions or unique conversations that really stuck that felt different than our typical conversations at these types of events?
For me, the big one, as I mentioned, we had an organization come straight to our booth after talking with one of the analysts. They were curious about what a digital identity wallet was. Tell me about how that works. And that's not typically a question we get. Normally, it's like, tell me how you do passwordless, or tell me how you do identity verification. But the concept of an identity wallet, while it may not be new, the way in which we deliver it certainly is. And they were interested in the way we bring all of that together. How do we build that wallet? What's behind it? What's the supporting technologies for us to make that work? The fact that we can support the concept of bring your own identity was a very, very, very hot button for them. And they spent about an hour in our booth learning more about our technology and how all of this stuff kind of comes together. And that conversation didn't happen the last time we were at this show because customers just didn't quite understand it. But the market is moving such that it's evolving so quickly that we're starting to have those conversations now. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, and I would agree, obviously. And for me, it was interesting. Folks are showing up at these events, right? The IRS was there, Costco was there, so many different large companies, Navy Federal was there. Folks are taking a look at what they've been doing for the last 20, 30 years, right? Which has been the paper-based onboarding of new hires, whether they are full-time or they are contractors. It's interesting how they are suddenly looking to digitize everything as if that's going to be possible, right? But there is this impossible dream. Everyone comes up and shows, well, my help desk receives a phone call. Can you digitize that for me? I do this manually and it's an out-of-band process. Can you digitize that for me? Those are impossible problems to solve as the technology in the phones and the onboard biometrics with your laptops and all. The state of the art just doesn't support the impossible use cases, but folks are asking the question anyway. And I think that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Just because it's an impossible or a difficult problem to solve doesn't make it a bad thing. It means that there are discussions happening behind closed doors, and there are finally doors have opened. Now those discussions are at our booths, right? And I think that's where you tend to get that expansion of that circle, that knowledge domain, which is just starting to happen. I did not get questions like that in the last Gartner event. But this time around, there were questions like that. And of course, there were difficult answers to those. And sometimes there was comfortable silence as well, where everybody realized, well, I just asked an impossible question. But they're there. They have your number. And I feel that can lead to only good things. So that was kind of a standout for me because it was different.
I mean, great conversations, unique questions. What overall sessions, booth, other vendors being there, the analysts that were present, the attendees walking around. What are your overall thoughts of how this event went?
Well, again, for me, this is the first event I've been to since, not that I want to say that word again, but COVID, right? It's the first time that I've been on a show floor in 3 years almost. So it was good just to get back out and meet people face to face. Not to mention, I mean, listen, this is a very small space. It's fun to see past coworkers and past customers that you've worked at or with at other companies that you may have been part of. But at the end of the day, there's always something. There's always takeaways. There's always things that you're going to learn, and this event is absolutely no exception to that. And it's a very, very beneficial show if you can get there. There are lots of things that you are going to learn, no matter how experienced you are. There's always going to be something that is going to kind of make you stop and think about whatever you just saw, watched, heard, whatever that might be. It's always a great event. There's always things that I'm learning, whether it be from customers or from analysts, or even some of the other vendors around the show floor. But it's always a very, very, very good event, and always very good time. Always very well invested going to it.
It was good to catch up with friends from 20 years, folks still in the business. You enter this industry, you don't leave it because it's the identity business, right? As we said in the session, right, we are truly the only providers of our own identity. Hopefully people are starting to learn that, understand that. That's been our value prop for nearly half a decade now. The analysts are starting to speak what we are speaking, and imagine meeting all of those individuals, those folks at the same place. I was quite pleased with the venue, to be honest. I was not sure what to expect after Vegas.
Yeah, I was too.
But it was good.
I think it's better than Vegas, personally.
I liked it. At the Gaylord in Grapevine.
Yep.
And it'll be there again next year.
Yes.
So I've heard. And we'll be there again next year.
Yes, we
Definitely
will.
less smoke inhalation for sure compared to Vegas.
Yes.
Although we are going back to Vegas at the end of May for Identiverse. We will be there with a booth. Where else are we going in May?
EIC.
EIC in Berlin.
Ooh.
You're busy in May. We'll be in San Francisco at Finovate, putting out a demo.
Yep.
A lot of exciting things coming up. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime, honestly.